Lamas here. I want to give a shout out to the MMA community for setting up this Q&A. You guys emailed a bunch of questions beforehand, so I got a bunch of them written down here, and we'll get to it. First off, I want to introduce my two companions here. This is Cilantro, my African Gray Parrot, and this is Bane, my English Bull Terrier. So we'll just get right into it. This first question, probably one of the best ones that you guys sent in. Who's my favorite Always Sunny character? And I don't know if I could choose one, because all four of them bring their own unique spin to the show, and I think if you remove one of the four main characters, the show is shit. So, but if I had to choose one, I'd have to say that I do laugh at Frank a lot, the character that Danny DeVito plays. I just, he just cracks me up. He's such a dirty old man, and all the nasty things he says just makes me laugh. So, but like I said, all of them are awesome. It's my favorite show on TV right now, comedy at least, and I can't wait for more seasons to come out. Which loss would you like to avenge, and why? As a fighter, I think all of us would like to go back and avenge every single loss. I don't think there's one that really sticks out in my head. All of them kind of, rub me the wrong way when you think about it. So if I could go back and get a chance at all the guys that have beaten me, I would do it in a heartbeat. I think every fighter would. So that answers that question. How many fights would I like to have annually? I think a good year where you're not putting too much stress on your body through training camps and all that would be about 3 fights a year. Unfortunately, it doesn't always happen, especially when you get kind of to the top of the division. You don't want to take just any random fight, because every fight you go into, there's obviously a risk. So you want to take fights that make sense, that are going to move you up the ladder or move you closer to a title shot. And sometimes, they just don't want to pair you up with a random person. So if I could have my choice, I would love to fight about 3 times a year. Next question is about the new weigh-in rules and, them banning the IVs, and would I ever consider changing weight classes. So as far as the new weigh-in rules, I think they're awesome, allowing us to weigh in earlier in the day. For those of you that don't know, we used to weigh in around, I don't know, maybe 4 p.m. the weigh-ins would start the day before the fight, and now we get to weigh in as early as, we get to weigh in as early as about 10 a.m., and it's great because usually I'm on weight that morning of the weigh-ins anyway, but I literally have to sit around for 8 to 12 hours, 8 hours, just kind of suffering through being dehydrated and all that. So now we get it over with early in the day, and we have a lot more time to rehydrate and get some good nutritious food in us for the next day for the fight. As far as no IVs, I used one time way back in the WEC, and that was when I was fighting at 155, and I didn't even really need it. I just kind of wanted to see the difference, because I heard all these fighters using them, and they're all raving about it, how it's the best thing to do. So I used it one time at 55, didn't notice much of a difference, and never used one since. So for me, it's it doesn't matter that they ban the IVs. As far as changing weight classes, like I stated earlier, I used to fight at 155. That's where I started my career outside of Zuffa. And then when I signed with Zuffa in the WEC, all my fights were at 155. And when they merged us into the UFC, that's when I had kind of a lot of spare time on my hands and used it to really dedicate myself to my diet and lots of cardio to kind of get that extra fat off and bring my weight down. And that's when I made the drop to 145. What type of music do I listen to while training? I have a very eclectic collection and taste in music. I listen to tons of stuff. Anything from Spanish music, salsa, Spanish rap, to old 80s hair metal bands. So I'm actually, being a wrestler, I don't know if it's a wrestler thing, but the movie Vision Quest, that whole soundtrack to that movie, is great, and it's in my workout playlist, all those songs. So that really got me into kind of the 80s hair band music and stuff like that. So I listen to a lot of that actually when I work out, if I were to choose any type of genre that I mainly listen to. Next question is about pay. Would I prefer smaller pay but guaranteed monthly salary? I wouldn't prefer smaller pay. You know, it's okay the way it is now for me, but it's hard. You have to work your way up the ladder. You know, it wasn't always great for. It's not like super great for me right now. You know, you could always earn more, always use more. But I would love to have a monthly salary, but I wouldn't want to take a pay cut to get it. So it's just one of those things. This girl's about to fly off here. Come here. Get on there. You're messing up my video. So I guess the answer to that is no, I wouldn't really want to take a pay cut to get a monthly salary. I'm okay where it's at right now. Where did my nickname come from? Well, as you can see right here, this is where my nickname come from, my Bull Terrier Bane. I have a pretty big obsession with Bull Terriers, which leads into the next question of why Bull Terriers and where exactly did the obsession come from. I would have to say it started in high school, probably when the movie Next Friday came out. You know, the Bull Terrier Chico in there. So that was kind of my first glimpse at the breed, and I don't know, just something about them, their looks. You know, they're a very peculiar looking dog, as you can see right here, and they love being around people. You know, he's been all over me during this whole interview, so they can't get enough attention, they can't get enough affection. They're really loyal. They're silly dogs. They're called the clowns of the dog world. 2-year-olds in dog suits, which is an accurate description of their character. Leave her alone. He's getting too interested in the bird right now. So, what do you want? What do you want? Leave her alone. But yeah. Bane wasn't, he's not my only Bull Terrier, or wasn't my only Bull Terrier. I actually had 2. My first one was a white Bull Terrier. I got him right when I graduated college. I got him, and I actually, unfortunately, just put him down earlier this week. He would have been 12 in July. He just had a lot of problems, you know, ranging from possible stomach cancer. He had tumor on his bladder, and you know, I tried as much as I could and gave him as many medicines as I could to make him feel comfortable. But you know, at the end of the day, I just didn't want to see him suffer anymore, and it sucks. You know, I'm sure a lot of you out there have had to put down a dog, and you know, to me, they're members of the family. They're not just a pet. So that was really hard. And if anybody else out there is going through that right now, just, you know, be happy that they were in your lives in the first place, because they're special animals. Next question is a good one. How often do people call you Lorenzo, as in Lorenzo Lamas from the show The Renegade? People wouldn't call me Lorenzo Lamas, but I got asked a lot if I was related to Lorenzo Lamas growing up, and I always have to tell them no. So obviously, no, I'm not related to him. I did have a friend in high school who used to call me the Renegade for that exact reason. But as far as that, they also asked if Renegade was my favorite show, and I can honestly say I don't think I've ever seen an episode of it. So I don't even really know what the show's about, to tell you the truth. Next question, food cravings. What are my food cravings when I'm cutting weight? That's a good question, and I torture myself. I am constantly on Netflix watching diners, drive-ins, and dives with Guy Fieri when I'm cutting weight, just to torture myself. I'll come up with like lists of the places around my area that are on his show, and I'll try to hit up a few after the fight. But my biggest cravings during that fight week and during cutting weight are probably pizza and barbecue. So those are my 2 biggest ones there. All right, next question. How do you get away and clear your head when you're tired of training? That's a good question. Mainly I'll, you know, either spend time with my family, my wife and my kid. I have a 2-year-old son. Or I'll take the dogs out, you know, and I'll also take rides on my motorcycle. That's a real great way to clear your head, you know, just get out there and ride. So those are the biggest things I do, I would say, to clear my head when I'm tired of training. Next question is, how do you deal with nerves during fight week? That's a good question. And if any fighter tells you that they're not nervous during fight week or leading up to the fight, I'd say they're lying to you. It's too big of a deal. There's too much work that went into it. I would kind of describe it as like, you know, back in the day in school when you'd have to give like a big speech and you'd start getting those butterflies in your stomach. That's kind of what I would compare it to, but on a much bigger level. So to kind of control that, I really just do anything I can to take my mind off the fight. You know, whether it's watching funny movies or going out around the city that I'm in where the fight is going to be to do some touristy stuff. Like, for example, my last fight was in Mexico City, and me and one of my trainers went to the pyramids for a day and just kind of chilled out there, and it was a really cool way to just get away from fight week and have some time to myself and just not stress out about the fight. Next question. At what age did you start training striking? So I would say I was about 10 years old. I started doing Taekwondo. I stopped when I was just shy of my black belt, though, a few years down the road, and then started wrestling in high school because an older brother of mine was on the team. So, but when I came back to it, you know, the Taekwondo helped later on. I didn't start retraining striking until after I graduated from college and started training MMA. But because of the training I had when I was younger, I think it at least the kicking part, which is hard to get down for anyone, came back to me a lot easier. So I give my credit to the training I did as a kid in Taekwondo to that. This is a good one. The stinkiest fighter I've ever faced. And I don't have an answer for that for a fighter specifically, but I do have a funny story about wrestling in college. And if this person out there and watching, and you'll know who you are, we were wrestling at Olivet College, which is a college in Michigan, and I got a takedown on this guy. We were kind of close to the edge of the mat. He was about to go out of bounds. I wrapped around his ankles, and he tried mule kicking out of bounds. So my head was down on the mat. When he mule kicked, he brought his butt towards my face and then tried to kick out. And as he tried to kick out, I guess he pushed a little too hard and just completely ripped ass in my face. And I had like the fart cloud in my face there for a second until I couldn't take it anymore, and I drove him out of bounds to end my misery. So Olivet College, I think it was around 2004, 2005. If you faced the 157-pounder from Elmhurst, you farted in my face, you jerk. Next question. Did I get into a lot of fights as a kid? Honestly, I didn't get into a lot of fights as a kid. I was the youngest of 6 boys, so all the fighting I did were with my brothers. And I wouldn't really call it fighting. I would call it just me getting my ass kicked on a daily basis. Of course, you know, I had scuffles here and there in school. I think it was mainly because I was really like small and short for my age. So sometimes I guess people might have seen me as an easy target and would try to bully me a little bit, but they'd find out real fast, you know, not to do that, because I wouldn't ask so many questions. I'd kind of hit first and let them learn their lesson. So if the little bullying that I faced as a kid was stopped quickly when the bullies would get hit back. Not condoning that for all you kids now, but that's how we did it back in the day. Last question before I take off. This is a good one to end with. Would you rather fight a prime Mike Tyson or Fedor to the death? And if you're asking me if I'd rather face a fully trained heavyweight MMA fighter, one of the best pound for pound in the world, or a guy who's, you know, maybe one of the best pound for pound at just boxing, first of all, I wouldn't want to face either one in a fight because that would be very stupid. But if I had to choose one where I had any type of chance of winning, it'd probably be against Mike Tyson, because I would just low-level his ass in a split second and take him down. I wouldn't waste 1 second trying to stand up with that guy. So I guess my answer would be Mike Tyson. Anyways, guys, I had a lot of fun. Thank you for sending all the questions. And I would love to do this again. So MMA Community, get back at me anytime. and with more questions from the fans, and we'll do it. I need to get this stinky bull terrier off.